It was an ordinary day on Earth, or at least it seemed that way. The sun was setting over the horizon, casting a soft golden glow across the cities below. People were busy going about their routines, with the hum of daily life filling the air. In government buildings, scientists were working on new innovations, while military officials reviewed old plans. The world was calm. But deep in the heart of Earth's communication center, a message was being prepared, a message that would change everything. At 7:00 p.m., the usual evening broadcast was interrupted by an emergency transmission. It wasn't from any familiar world leader, nor was it from any Earthbound agency. The broadcast was a direct signal from outer space, a message from a group of alien species, calling themselves the Council of Galactic Powers. The message was clear, but its words shook everyone who listened. The leader of the council, a tall, dark-skinned alien with silver markings on its face, spoke in a calm, authoritative voice that echoed through Earth's comm channels. "People of Earth," the voice began, "your time has come. The Galactic Council has voted, and the decision is final. You are a threat to the peace of the galaxy. For too long, your kind has remained unnoticed, your technology unrecognized. Now, it is time for the galaxy to act." The words were simple, but their meaning was far-reaching. Earth, a small planet on the edge of a vast galaxy, was now a target for something much larger than itself. A galactic war had been declared, and Earth had no idea why. The transmission continued, outlining the accusations. The Council claimed that humanity's rapid advancements in technology, particularly in space travel and artificial intelligence, were destabilizing the balance of power in the galaxy. The aliens feared that humans, though still young in terms of galactic civilization, were advancing too quickly. In their eyes, humanity's innovation was seen as dangerous, a spark that could ignite chaos across the stars. For the people of Earth, the message was a shock. No one had expected this. No one had even thought that Earth would ever be a part of galactic politics, let alone at the center of a war. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the world in stunned silence. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, the chaos began. At first, there were questions. The world's leaders scrambled to understand what had just occurred. Was this real? Could this truly be happening? But the transmission was clear. There was no mistaking it. The war was real, and humanity was now at the center of it. Across the globe, governments went into high alert. Military forces were mobilized. Earth's defense systems, long dormant, were activated, ready for an invasion no one had predicted. But even as people rushed to prepare, a cold doubt lingered in the air. How could they fight back against a galaxy of far more advanced species? How could humanity, a species with limited resources and relatively primitive technology, compared to the galactic powers, stand a chance? In the midst of this uncertainty, one woman stood out. Dr. Naomi Pierce, an astrobiologist who had spent her life studying the life forms of other planets, couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She had seen the signs. Humanity had always been underestimated, but there was something more to this message than just fear. Dr. Pierce was known for her calm and analytical nature, even under pressure. As the world around her began to panic, she remained composed, poring over data from the transmission. She had access to some of the most advanced communication technology available, and she began to analyze the patterns within the alien signal. What had they said? What did they mean? There had to be more to this than a simple declaration of war. As she dug deeper, she started to find oddities in the message itself. Hidden within the speech were subtle hints, a language of symbols embedded within the words that suggested a deeper level of communication. Dr. Pierce felt a strange sense of unease. It was almost as if the Council didn't truly want to go to war. Something felt out of place. Why declare war on a species so young, so unprepared? As she continued her work, she reached out to her colleagues, scientists, diplomats, and military officials, urging them to think carefully. This was not just a war of weapons, she believed. It was a war of understanding. Humanity had always been resourceful, creative, and adaptable, qualities that had enabled them to survive even the most difficult circumstances. But would these traits be enough in the face of an entire galaxy determined to eliminate them? The world was on edge, but Dr. Pierce was beginning to believe that Earth had something the galaxy did not expect. She didn't know what it was yet, but she was certain that humanity's future depended on discovering it before it was too late. The message had been received, and Earth had just become the stage for something far bigger than anyone could have ever imagined. The morning after the message arrived, Earth was still in shock. Cities were quieter than usual, and the sky seemed unusually heavy with uncertainty. People were glued to their screens, watching news reports, and trying to make sense of the declaration. The announcement from the Council of Galactic Powers had turned their world upside down. How could humanity, a young and small species, be seen as a threat? What could they have done to deserve a war? Inside government buildings, the leaders of Earth met in a series of hurried, emergency meetings. They had no time to waste. The reality of the situation was clear. Earth was now in danger. But what exactly was the threat? How could they even begin to understand a galaxy so vast, so unknown? They had no choice but to prepare for the worst. Among those in the meeting was Dr. Naomi Pierce, the astrobiologist who had been one of the first to analyze the message. Naomi had spent the last several hours analyzing every part of the transmission. She was known for her sharp mind and calm demeanor, traits that had earned her respect in her field. However, today, even she couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right. She sat at her desk, going over the details once more. The message had come from the Council of Galactic Powers, a coalition of alien species that controlled a large portion of the galaxy. The Council had claimed that humanity's rapid technological advances were a danger to galactic peace. But Naomi couldn't help but wonder, what did they mean by danger? Was there more to this story than they were being told? Naomi's thoughts were interrupted by a knock on her office door. She turned to see her colleague, Dr. Eli Thompson, stepping inside. Eli was a scientist who specialized in advanced technology, and he had been working closely with the military to prepare Earth's defenses. "Naomi, you've seen the message, right?" Eli asked, concern evident in his voice. "Do you think they're serious about this war? I mean, it's hard to believe they'd attack us for just being, well, human." Naomi sighed, rubbing her temples. "I don't know, but something about it feels off. I've been going through the transmission again, and I found something strange. It's subtle, but it's there. The way the message was worded, the way it was structured, it's almost like a challenge, like they're pushing us into a corner." Eli frowned. "A challenge? What do you mean?" "I think," Naomi began slowly, choosing her words carefully, "that the Council may not want to destroy us after all. It's like they're testing us, trying to see how we'll react. And they're waiting for us to prove something." Eli stared at her, his mind racing. But why? Why would they do that? And why now? Naomi didn't have an answer. She was just as baffled as everyone else. But one thing was clear. Humanity wasn't just facing a simple threat. The Council's message wasn't just an attack. It was a test, a challenge to see if humanity could rise to the occasion. The news spread quickly. Reports from around the world flooded in, with governments scrambling to respond. The military ramped up its readiness, preparing to defend the planet from the unknown. Meanwhile, scientists like Naomi were being called upon to advise Earth's leaders. There was talk of new weapons and strategies, but Naomi wasn't so sure that firepower alone would be enough to win a war with species far more advanced than humanity. As the day went on, Naomi couldn't shake the feeling that something more was at play here. The Council had claimed that humanity's rapid advancements were a threat, but Naomi wasn't convinced. The aliens were right to be concerned about Earth's technological progress, but humanity had always been known for its creativity. Would that creativity be enough to keep the planet safe? Later that evening, Naomi gathered a small team of scientists to discuss her findings. They met in a secure lab, away from the prying eyes of military officials. Naomi didn't trust the usual channels. She needed to speak freely with those who could help her understand what the council's true intentions were. "This is what I'm thinking," Naomi said as she stood in front of a large screen, projecting the transmission. "The council didn't just declare war on us. They're trying to provoke us. They want to see what we'll do. But they also gave us a chance to prove ourselves." The room fell silent. Everyone knew the gravity of the situation. Dr. Lisa Chen, a fellow astrobiologist, was the first to speak. "So, you're saying this isn't just a threat. They're giving us a challenge. What kind of challenge are we talking about?" "I'm not sure yet," Naomi replied. "But if we can figure out what they really want, we might be able to avoid a war entirely." The way they worded the message, it's almost like they're trying to get a reaction. "And if we react the wrong way, it'll be war. But if we respond with something unexpected, something they don't expect, you think they'll back down?" Eli interrupted. Naomi nodded. "It's possible, but it won't be easy. We need to think outside the box, use everything humanity has ever learned about survival and innovation. Our greatest strength isn't just in our weapons. It's in our ability to adapt, to think creatively. If we can show the council that we're capable of more than just brute force, they might reconsider." The team exchanged glances. There was no time to waste. The future of Earth depended on finding a way to prove that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't just its technology, it was its mind. The world had barely begun to process the news of the galactic war when Earth's leaders convened once more, this time with a different approach. While the military focused on preparing for battle, Naomi Pierce and a growing group of scientists, diplomats, and thinkers started to shift their attention. They believed humanity's best chance wasn't in weapons or defensive strategies, but in something far more subtle, their ability to think outside the box. Naomi was convinced that the message from the Council of Galactic Powers wasn't just a threat. It was a challenge. The aliens had pushed humanity into a corner, yes, but they had also given them an opportunity. And Naomi knew that Earth's best response wouldn't come from firepower or military tactics. It would come from showing the galaxy what humanity truly was. She gathered her team, and together they began planning a new kind of response, one that had never been tried before. Instead of sending more warships into space, Earth's leaders decided to do something radical. They would offer peace in the form of an invitation. But not just any invitation. An invitation to the aliens, inviting them to experience humanity's creativity, innovation, and resilience firsthand. Naomi and her team knew it was risky, but they believed that showing the aliens what humanity was capable of, beyond just war and weapons, might just be the key to stopping the conflict before it started. And so, they drafted the message. Council of Galactic Powers, the message began. "We, the people of Earth, understand the challenge you have presented. We recognize your concerns about our rapid advancements, but we ask you to see us not just as a species of weapons and technology, but as a species of heart, creativity, and resilience. We invite you to Earth to see what we are truly capable of in peace. Come and experience our world, our art, our ideas. See that we are not just a threat. We are a species that values progress, understanding, and cooperation." The message was broadcast across the galaxy. Earth's leaders weren't sure what to expect. Would the Council see this as a sign of weakness, or would they be surprised by humanity's willingness to embrace peace, even in the face of war? There was no way to know for sure, but the decision had been made. As the message went out, there was an unexpected ripple of reactions across the galaxy. Some alien factions, particularly those that had been vocal in their support for the war, were puzzled. They had expected humanity to react with anger or fear, perhaps with a display of military force. Instead, they were met with a proposal for peaceful coexistence, one that appealed to the very core of what they feared, humanity's creativity. Meanwhile, on Earth, the tension in the air was palpable. Governments, military officials, and citizens alike waited to see how the Galactic Council would respond. Would they laugh at humanity's invitation? Or would they, too, recognize something remarkable in the offer? No one could predict the outcome. Days passed, and the silence from the Galactic Council was deafening. Naomi and her team worked tirelessly, gathering data, refining their message, and preparing for whatever might come next. They knew that time was running out. The Council could respond at any moment, and the world needed to be ready for any possibility. Then, one afternoon, the answer came. The broadcast began, and it was unlike any transmission Earth had ever received. It wasn't a threat this time. It wasn't a declaration of war. Instead, the Council of Galactic Powers sent a representative, a diplomat from one of the galaxy's most influential species. The alien, known only as Zoran, appeared on screens across Earth. Zoran was unlike any species humanity had ever encountered. It was tall, its skin a deep shade of blue, with elongated limbs and eyes that seemed to glow faintly. It spoke in a deep, resonant voice that filled the airwaves. "We have received your message, Earth," Zoran began, its voice calm but serious. "And we are intrigued. Your offer of peace and invitation to your world is unexpected. It is not the response we anticipated. You, humans, have shown us something we did not expect: humility and creativity." Naomi's heart skipped a beat. The response was not what she had feared. The aliens seemed to be open to the idea of peace. Zoran continued, "While many of our council members still view you as a threat, there are those among us who believe that perhaps we have underestimated you. Perhaps it is not your weapons or your technology that make you dangerous, but your ability to think and adapt so quickly. We will accept your invitation, Earth. We will come to your world and see for ourselves what you are capable of." The transmission ended, and for a moment, the world held its breath. Earth's leaders were stunned. The invitation had worked. The Council had agreed to send representatives to Earth to experience humanity's creativity firsthand. It wasn't a victory yet, but it was the first sign that humanity's gamble had paid off. For Naomi and her team, the news was a bittersweet relief. It wasn't over. There was still much to be done, but they had succeeded in shifting the narrative. Humanity had not been crushed by fear or violence. Instead, it had stood firm in its ability to adapt, to innovate, and to reach out for understanding. The next chapter had begun, and Earth was no longer just a target in a galactic war. It was a player on the stage of the stars. The news of the Council's response spread across Earth like wildfire. People were both relieved and anxious. The invitation had been accepted, but no one truly knew what that meant. What would the alien representatives think of Earth? What would they see when they arrived? Would this peace offer actually work, or would it lead to something more dangerous? The scientists and diplomats who had been working on the peace proposal were cautiously optimistic, but they also knew that Earth was still on the edge of a precipice. If the meeting with the alien representatives didn't go well, the war could still happen. But there was something else at play, something that Naomi Pierce had sensed from the very beginning. The Council of Galactic Powers had underestimated humanity. They had expected a typical response, a response filled with fear or anger. Instead, humanity had chosen peace and creativity, which was something the Council wasn't prepared for. As the days passed, the first wave of alien ships began to approach Earth. These were not the massive warships that Earth had feared. They were sleek, streamlined vessels, much smaller and more refined than the ones shown in earlier transmissions. Still, the sight of them in the sky made people nervous. Military defenses were on high alert, but no one was quite sure what to expect. Naomi stood in a control room with her team, watching the radar screens and waiting for the ships to land. She had prepared herself for many possible scenarios, but she couldn't deny the butterflies in her stomach. This was it, the moment when everything could change. Then the first ship touched down. It was on the outskirts of New York City, near a large open field where representatives of Earth's governments had gathered. The ship was nothing like Earth's technology. It shimmered, almost as if it were made of liquid light. As it descended from the sky, it sent a wave of energy across the landscape, and the crowd below watched in awe. Zoran, the representative of the Galactic Council, was the first to step out of the ship. The alien stood tall, its glowing eyes scanning the humans before it. Around it, several other representatives of different alien species also emerged. They were all different, some tall, some short, some with glowing patterns on their skin, others with metallic or transparent features. Despite their differences, they all shared one thing in common. They were watching humanity closely. Naomi stood among the crowd, her heart pounding in her chest. This was the moment that could change everything. She had spent countless hours studying the aliens, preparing for this meeting, but now that it was happening, the weight of the situation was heavier than she had imagined. Zoran approached the delegation of Earth leaders who stood waiting. Naomi noticed that the aliens' eyes flickered with curiosity, but also caution. It was clear that the Council was still uncertain about humanity, unsure whether they had made a mistake or whether Earth truly was a threat. The silence between the two groups stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Finally, Zoran spoke, its voice calm but commanding. "We have come, as promised," Zoran said. "We are here to see for ourselves what you humans are truly capable of. We have seen your technology, your art, your culture. But we need more than just your words. Show us what you have. Earth, prove that you are more than the threat we believe you to be." The words stung, but Naomi didn't flinch. She knew what Zoran was asking for. It wasn't just a display of technology or strength. It was a test of humanity's spirit, its creativity, and its heart. Without hesitation, the Earth leaders stepped forward, and the first demonstration began. A team of human engineers unveiled their newest innovation, an advanced energy generator that could provide unlimited clean power. It was a peaceful, groundbreaking invention that could revolutionize not just Earth's future, but the future of the galaxy. The alien representatives watched closely, their glowing eyes fixed on the generator. They murmured among themselves, exchanging thoughts in their own language. Naomi watched their reactions carefully, knowing that this was only the first step. There was more to show, more to prove. Next came a performance by Earth's artists. A group of dancers from all over the world took to the stage, performing a breathtaking routine that blended cultures, music, and movement from every corner of the planet. It wasn't just a display of physical skill. It was a representation of humanity's unity, despite its differences. The aliens seemed intrigued, but there was still no sign of approval. Finally, Naomi stepped forward. She had been asked to speak to the alien representatives about the true nature of humanity, its adaptability, its resilience, and its willingness to work together for the greater good. As she spoke, she felt a deep connection to the moment. This was humanity's chance to show that they weren't just a species to be feared, but one that could contribute to a greater galactic community. "We have made mistakes, yes," Naomi said, her voice steady. "But we learn, we grow, and we adapt. We are not perfect, but we are capable of change. We are capable of building a future together with all of you. All we ask is the chance to prove it." The alien representatives were silent for a long time after Naomi spoke. The crowd waited, holding its breath, unsure of what would happen next. Finally, Zoran stepped forward once more, its glowing eyes meeting Naomi's. "You speak of change," Zoran said, "and perhaps that is what we have underestimated. We will need time to consider what we have seen. But one thing is clear. You have shown us that humanity is more than just its technology. You have shown us that you are capable of growth, of cooperation, of understanding. We are not yet convinced that you pose no danger, but we are willing to consider a different path." The first wave had arrived, and Earth had passed the first test. The road ahead was still uncertain, but humanity had taken the first step toward proving that its greatest weapon wasn't its technology. It was its spirit. And for the first time, the Alien Council seemed to take notice. The days following the arrival of the alien representatives were tense. Although Zoran had acknowledged humanity's strengths, there was no official decision yet. The Alien Council remained divided, and Earth's leaders knew that the chance for peace wasn't guaranteed. The invitation had been accepted, but it wasn't a victory. It was just the beginning. Naomi Pierce, along with other members of the scientific and diplomatic teams, met daily to prepare for the next phase. They couldn't afford to relax. The galaxy's most powerful species were still skeptical, and the Council's final decision would determine whether Earth would be accepted into the galactic community, or whether humanity would face the full force of an interstellar war. Naomi spent long hours in the research labs, reviewing data and analyzing the reactions from the alien representatives. It was clear that some had been impressed by Earth's creativity and innovations, but others remained unconvinced. The tension among the aliens was palpable. They had been prepared to destroy humanity. But now, with each new display of human ingenuity, they were forced to reconsider. One afternoon, Naomi was sitting with Dr. Eli Thompson in a quiet corner of the lab. They were discussing their next steps when the door opened, and an urgent message appeared on the screen in front of them. It was from Zoran. Naomi Pierce. Zoran's voice came through the speaker. "We request a private meeting. There is much to discuss. We will come to your location shortly." Naomi exchanged a glance with Eli. This was it. The moment of truth had arrived. They had no idea what the Council's true intentions were, but they knew that Zoran's request meant something important. They needed to be prepared for anything. Within an hour, a small, sleek alien vessel landed in the courtyard of the research facility. Zoran and a few other representatives emerged from the ship, their expressions unreadable. This time, there was no grand ceremony, no public display. The atmosphere was serious, and Naomi could feel the weight of the moment. She and Eli greeted the alien group as they entered the meeting room. The silence between the two parties was thick with anticipation. Zoran spoke first, its glowing eyes focusing on Naomi. "We have discussed your world in great detail," Zoran began, "and there is something that we must address. You claim that humanity is capable of change, that you can learn from your past mistakes and adapt. But you also have a history of conflict, of division. What guarantees can you offer us that you will not repeat the errors of your past?" Naomi took a deep breath. This was the question they had been waiting for. The challenge that would determine whether humanity would be accepted into the galactic fold. She knew that her response had to be clear and compelling. "Zoran, we don't ask for your trust." "Not yet," Naomi said, her voice steady. "What we can offer is our commitment to growth, to learning from our history, and to moving forward together. We are not a perfect species, but we have always had the capacity for change. What we offer is not just technology or ideas, but the willingness to evolve and build a better future. We believe that through collaboration, we can help each other. Our mistakes don't define us. They drive us to do better." Zoran listened carefully, its eyes never leaving Naomi. The other alien representatives remained silent, their expressions hard to read. For a long moment, there was no response. Finally, Zoran spoke again. "Your words are compelling, Naomi Pierce, but words alone will not convince the Council. We need to see action. You claim to be a species of progress, of adaptability. Then show us. We will give you a test, not of your strength, but of your ability to cooperate with others. You must prove that you can work with us, as equals, in a shared goal. Only then will we consider the future of your species." The room fell silent once more. Naomi knew that this was the next step, but she had no idea what kind of test the Council had in mind. It was clear that humanity's future now depended on its ability to work with the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. "What kind of test do you propose?" Naomi asked, her voice calm but filled with uncertainty. Zoran paused, considering the question. "We will give you a mission to solve a problem that affects us all. There is a crisis in the galaxy. A rare resource that is vital to the survival of many species is running low. We believe that your creativity, your resourcefulness, could help find a solution. You will work alongside our scientists, engineers, and diplomats to find a way to resolve the crisis. This will not be a simple task, and it will require cooperation across species. If you succeed, we will recognize you as a worthy member of the galactic community." Naomi's heart raced. This was a test like no other. It wasn't about war or technology. It was about humanity's ability to collaborate, to think outside the box, and to contribute to the greater good of the galaxy. It was a challenge that could define Earth's place in the universe. "We accept," Naomi said, her voice firm with determination. "We will prove that humanity can rise to this challenge." Zoran nodded. "Very well. We will give you the details of the mission. Work together and show us that you can build a future of peace and cooperation." As the alien representatives left, Naomi stood quietly, contemplating the weight of the task ahead. This was their chance to show the galaxy that humanity was more than capable of rising to the occasion. But it wouldn't be easy. The mission would test every aspect of human ingenuity, creativity, and teamwork. For the first time in a long while, Naomi felt a glimmer of hope. The road ahead was uncertain, but humanity had been given a chance to prove itself, and it wasn't about to let it slip away. The challenge had been set. Naomi Pierce and her team had accepted the mission. They were to work alongside the alien representatives, solving a crisis that affected the entire galaxy. The problem was simple in its description, but vast in its implications. A rare resource, essential to the survival of many species, was rapidly running out. If they failed to find a solution, entire civilizations could collapse. Naomi sat at the head of a large table in the conference room, surrounded by a diverse group of scientists, engineers, and diplomats from across the galaxy. The alien species were varied, some humanoid, others completely different in appearance. Each one had its own unique strengths, but they all had one thing in common. They were skeptical of humanity. Earth had been given a chance, but this was far from a sure victory. Zoran, the alien diplomat, was there as well. It was clear that the council was watching closely, but Naomi couldn't shake the feeling that they were also waiting for humanity to falter. She was determined not to let that happen. They had been given a chance, and they would prove that humanity belonged in the galactic community. The mission would require cooperation between species with vastly different ways of thinking. The resource in question was known as lunium, a rare metal found only on certain planets. It had the unique ability to generate energy, which was crucial for many alien species technologies. But the lunium reserves were depleting rapidly, and the galaxy was running out of time. "Let's begin," Naomi said, standing up and addressing the room. "We need to first understand the problem from all angles. What have we learned so far about lunium's depletion?" An alien engineer named Rylix, a tall insectoid species from the planet Valon, was the first to speak. "Lunium deposits are limited to 3 known locations in the galaxy. We've extracted most of the resources from those sites, and the remaining reserves are deteriorating. Without new sources or an alternative, we face an energy crisis." Another representative, a creature named Joler from the aquatic world of Istria, spoke next. "Our species relies on lunium for our survival. Without it, our cities will crumble. We can't afford to wait." Naomi nodded. "We understand the urgency, but we need to think beyond just extraction. Are there other ways to solve this? What if we could find a way to replicate the properties of lunium?" The room fell silent. The idea of replicating lunium's properties was groundbreaking, but it was also a huge risk. If they failed, they could make the problem worse. "We don't have time to waste on theoretical solutions," Zoran said, its voice steady but stern. "We need results." Naomi met Zoran's gaze. "I agree, but we also need to be creative. If we only focus on the immediate need, we might overlook a solution that could benefit everyone in the long term." The room was filled with tension as everyone considered Naomi's suggestion. They were all under pressure to succeed, But the question was whether they could work together to find an answer. The problem was too big for any one species to solve on their own. Humanity's greatest strength, Naomi knew, was its ability to innovate under pressure, to think outside the box. Over the next several days, the team worked tirelessly. Each species contributed its unique knowledge and skills, but it was clear that the humans were taking the lead in terms of creative thinking. Naomi's team developed several potential solutions, but each came with its own set of challenges. Some solutions required technology that didn't exist yet. Others were too risky to consider without further testing. As the days turned into weeks, frustration began to build. The alien representatives had their doubts, and they weren't afraid to voice them. "Your ideas are interesting," Zoran said one day, "but we need something that works now. The crisis is growing worse by the day." Naomi knew that time was running out, but she also knew that rushing into a solution without considering all the possibilities would only lead to failure. They needed to take a step back and think strategically. One evening, as Naomi sat alone in her quarters, she reflected on the problem. What if the solution wasn't just about lunium? What if the real answer lay in energy efficiency and conservation? An idea began to form in her mind. She rushed to gather her team and shared her thoughts. "What if we could design a system that reduces the need for lunium in the first place?" she proposed. "What if we could develop energy sources that are more efficient and use less lunium, or none at all?" Her team members were skeptical at first, but as they discussed the idea further, they began to see its potential. It was an unorthodox solution, one that no one had considered before. It wasn't just about finding more lunium. It was about using less of it and finding alternative energy sources. They worked day and night, combining the knowledge of humans and aliens. Together, they developed a prototype for an energy-efficient system that could drastically reduce the need for lunium. The system was still in its early stages, but it had the potential to change everything. It was a solution that would not only solve the current crisis, but also create a sustainable future for all species. The day came when the team was ready to present their solution to the Alien Council. Zoran and the other representatives were there, watching closely. Naomi stepped forward, holding the prototype in her hands. "This system," Naomi explained, "uses a combination of advanced energy conversion technology and renewable resources. It's not just a temporary fix, it's a long-term solution. If implemented, it can significantly reduce the galaxy's reliance on lunium and provide energy for all species, no matter how far they are from the last remaining lunium deposits." The room was silent as the alien representatives examined the prototype. Zoran stepped forward, and for the first time, nodded in approval. This is something we did not expect. You have done what we thought impossible." Naomi held her breath. It wasn't over yet, but this was a moment of hope, a moment where humanity had shown the galaxy that it could rise to the occasion. They had done it. The council room was filled with a tense silence as the alien representatives examined the prototype Naomi and her team had created. The moment felt suspended in time, as if everyone in the room was holding their breath, waiting for a sign, any sign, that they had succeeded. For the first time, humanity was standing at the edge of something greater than itself. Naomi knew that the next few moments could shape the future of Earth and the entire galaxy. Zoran, the lead representative of the Galactic Council, stepped forward, holding the energy-efficient prototype in its hands. Its glowing eyes studied the design carefully. For a long time, it said nothing. Naomi felt her heart race. She knew they had made a breakthrough. But would the Council see it the same way? Finally, Zoran spoke. "You have done it," Zoran's voice echoed in the room. "This solution is unlike anything we have seen before. It is not just a temporary fix. It offers a future where all species can thrive without relying on limited resources. It is ingenious, and it shows us that humanity is capable of far more than we anticipated." Naomi's breath caught in her throat. She glanced at her team, who were watching the alien representatives with a mix of hope and uncertainty. Zoran turned to the other members of the council. "This will change everything," Zoran continued. "Your species has demonstrated that it can think beyond the obvious, that you can solve problems that even the most advanced civilizations could not. We have seen your potential, and it is far greater than we imagined." There was a ripple of agreement from the other council members. Naomi's heart soared. It was happening. They had done it. Humanity had proven itself. Zoran raised a hand, signaling for silence. "We will move forward with this plan. We will introduce it to the rest of the galaxy, and we will work together to implement this solution. But understand this. This is only the beginning. What you have shown us is the ability to lead, to innovate, and to adapt. You will be tested again. The galaxy is vast, and the challenges it presents are many." Naomi nodded, her mind racing. She had known all along that this wasn't just about one solution. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity was capable of growing, of learning, and of contributing to the greater good. This was only the first step in a much larger journey. "We are ready," Naomi said, her voice steady. "We will continue to work with you, to learn, and to help build a better future for all of us." Zoran gave a slight nod, then turned to the other representatives. There was a quiet moment as the council members exchanged glances, their faces unreadable. Then, as if on cue, they all nodded in agreement. "Humanity will be granted full membership in the galactic community," Zoran announced. "You have earned it." The room erupted into applause, but Naomi barely heard it. She was lost in the enormity of what had just happened. Earth had gone from being on the brink of destruction to standing alongside the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. She thought of all the challenges humanity had faced, all the mistakes they had made, and how far they had come. This was a new beginning. As the applause settled, Zoran turned back to Naomi. "We will need your help in implementing this solution across the galaxy. The work ahead is immense, but we have no doubt that humanity will rise to the occasion." Naomi smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. "We will. We won't let you down." The council members began discussing the next steps for spreading the new technology throughout the galaxy. Naomi and her team were invited to join in these discussions, and the once daunting task now felt like an exciting challenge. Earth was no longer a fledgling species fighting for survival. It was now a vital part of something much larger. Later that evening, as Naomi stood on the balcony of the research facility, gazing out at the stars, she reflected on everything that had led to this moment. The road had been long and full of uncertainty, but it had also been filled with determination, creativity, and hope. Humanity had shown that it was capable of more than just survival. It was capable of creating a future that could benefit every species, everywhere. The night sky was clear, and for the first time, Naomi felt truly connected to the vastness of the universe. She was no longer an outsider. Humanity was a part of the galaxy now. The challenges ahead would not be easy, but they would face them together, as equals. Naomi's mind turned to the future. The galaxy was full of possibilities, and Earth had earned its place among the stars. As the stars twinkled in the distance, she knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had been tested, and it had passed. And now there was a whole universe waiting to see what humanity would do next. For the first time in history, Earth wasn't just a small, isolated planet. It was a beacon of hope for the future. The story of humanity, once filled with struggle and uncertainty, had transformed into one of growth, innovation, and cooperation. And in that moment, Naomi Pierce knew that humanity had truly found its place in the galaxy. It was a place earned through hard work, determination, and the unwavering belief that, no matter the odds, humanity could rise to any challenge. And as Earth's first ambassadors to the stars, Naomi and her team were ready for whatever came next.